Let me tell you a story of what could have been, and it may change your life. So, back in 1983 and 1984, a man and a woman had met. We'll call them Jerry and Karen. So, Jerry was an auto mechanic, a very genius auto mechanic, worked for several shops, worked up to 2 jobs plus side jobs. He could pretty much hear an engine and tell you what's wrong with it. Karen, on the other hand, was a superior athlete who, even as a woman, played high school football as a quarterback with the boys, played volleyball, was on the way to collegiate glory, was offered scholarships, thought about possibly going into the military. And then she met Jerry. And between Jerry and Karen, they developed this incredible bond that would pretty much change the path of their lives, at least what was put in front of them. See, what a lot of us don't remember or don't realize is that everything is put in front of us and we have decisions to make. And those decisions take us on one path or the other. Sometimes there's 4 or 5 paths that are laid before us. Jerry and Karen decided at the age of 20 and 18 to get married. Now, you would originally think, back in the mid-'80s, that's because she got pregnant. But she didn't. She was not pregnant when they got married. They were just 2 kids with the whole world at their feet. One going to college to educate herself. One that was a mechanical genius, making really good money. And then one day, very soon after they got married, Karen was pregnant. And during that pregnancy, Jerry had something put in front of him. He had to either continue down the path of working 2 full-time jobs, having a part-time business, or going to work to be a service manager at a shop that was about an hour and a half away from the house. So Jerry took path number 2, which was to become a service manager at the age of 21. Probably one of the youngest service managers to ever be a part of the mechanic part of thing. That's how smart he was, how good he was with people. And Karen had an insane pregnancy and ended up having all kinds of weird complications, but they got through it and she delivered a baby boy. And in that instance, another path was laid before Jerry. And that decision of a path was, do I continue to follow my dream of opening my own shop? Or do I just go down the path of what everybody else did? Which is, I have a kid, I have responsibilities, and I need to be home with my kids. It's a decision all of us have a really tough time with, especially when we first have children, no matter what age we are. No matter what age we are, we come to this realization where we have 2 paths that we can take. And some of us take the 3rd path of abandonment. But the majority of us as human beings, women, men, non-binary, etc., we have several paths we can take. And he continued down the path of 9 to 5, come home. 9 to 5, come home. Have the weekends off. But slowly but surely, things started stacking up. Accidents, health issues, an economy that wasn't doing really that great. And then eventually, the meat and potatoes of what Jerry was doing for 5.5 years at the same shop eventually went bankrupt. the companies he depended on that came to the service station as major contractors no longer were available, went out of business. They lost their home that they worked so hard to get. They lost their cars. They lost their life. And along with their first child, now they have 3. Now they have 3 growing boys and moving spot to spot, trying to just gather enough money to rebuy a home and rebuild their credit. But in the midst of all of that, Jerry was given an opportunity of a lifetime laid before him. A senior management position within the state of California with the California Highway Patrol, that his main job would be to drive around all of California and train mechanics to work on CHP motorcycles and cars. That's how intelligent this guy was. That's how smart this guy was. That's the genius of Jerry. Jerry was so intelligent that his peers, even when they had more experience than Jerry, would constantly come to him when they ran into a brick wall, not being able to figure out an issue with a car. Back in the 1990s, this job paid $55,000 a year, plus full benefits, full medical, full dental, full vision, and a pension program. There was a kick. And the kicker was that he had to be on the road traveling from place to place throughout California, which is a large state, folks, if you don't know. Huge amount of area to do. He had to be on the road 14 days out of every single month. 14 days out, 14 days at home. Which means in his mind, he wouldn't be able to coach baseball anymore. Something that seemed very important to him at the time. He would have to give up his dream of eventually being a mechanic shop owner. He would eventually, by his mind and his definition, give up a lot of time. But what he didn't realize is that 14 days home and 14 days on the road would have given him more time than working a 9-to-5. But didn't think about that. As genius as he was, he didn't exactly look at the bigger picture because of what was laid in front of him, because of the options. So he turned down the job. And went to work for an auto shop that had a great reputation, paid him decently, enough where they could buy another house, enough where they could take one vacation a year, enough where they could go fishing, enough where he could coach baseball. But every single month, because it was less pay than what he would have gotten with the other job, he struggled and struggled and struggled. And eventually, at the age of 42 years old, passed away of lung cancer. A man that never smoked a cigarette in his life died of lung cancer. So the question is, what could have been? If he took that job with the state of California, a government position, what could have changed? The risk was great because it means he couldn't commit to being a full-time baseball coach with youth Little League. It meant that he would have to plan out vacations differently. It meant a lot of time away from home. But what could have happened? How would his life changed? How would the family's life changed? How could have it happened? And it's something I live by. I live by the fact that when we have those options in front of us, the path of least resistance may not always be the right street to go on.